This is Mike from Out My Closet, having a great time with Ben DeLaCreme.
Hi.
Woo! The show was so freaking amazing.
Thank you.
Anyone who sings about probing Uranus
yeah.
deserves a Grammy for that.
Well, science is very important.
So I felt like this was like a Bill Nye the Science Drag type of.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I definitely was taking some leads from Bill Nye as well as the Magic School Bus and I don't know, my own fever dreams.
That was crazy. It was so much fun. I was laughing my ass off. So we always ask, where do the origination of your drag name? Like, what's the story behind that?
Oh yeah, well Ben DeLaCreme, the gentleman that I share a body with is named Ben, and so Creme de la Creme is the best of the best, and Ben DeLaCreme is kind of the best features of Ben. So Ben DeLaCreme is like all of those being like brought forward. Yeah.
I heard you say that growing up was a little tough. You were taunted and teased. You were called too fat, too gay, too weird. How did you overcome being, taunted like that?
Dumb luck. A lot of really well-timed outside support. It really was like one of those things where I, for some reason, had that nugget of faith that it would end at some point and that there would be something for me in the future. And then, like, really right at that kind of, like, key time when I was around, like, 15, 16, I actually wound up going to a high school for the arts, and I met, like, my first other gay people, and I was like, oh, I'm not actually alone in this.
Yeah.
And people who were, like, not just gay, but also, like, just kind of weird creative people who, were doing their own thing, and so yeah, that really, but, I mean, even just then, it was still just, like, hanging on until you have some control over your own life,
So, was there a coming out story for you?
Oh, I never had any choice. I was just very, very gay. Yeah, no, I was just one of those people who sort of stopped denying being gay at around, like, 13, after everybody had been calling me a faggot for a good long time, so.
So, the age 13 was something like a very important part of your life. I remember you said that, you lost someone very close to you.
Yeah, that's also the same year that my mother died. And she'd really been a huge she'd been the one sort of support system for being myself and being comfortable with who I was. And so when she was gone, it was really, that was a few years that just felt like decades, where there was, like, being newly out, and my dad's, like, a really great guy who's come around, but was really trying his hardest, but still just, like, didn't quite know how to deal with it, and, and so it was definitely a rough moment in time, but.
What were ways in which you coped as a young person? You have being gay on your plate, adolescence, puberty, teenager, and then, losing mom. What were positive ways in which you dealt with the circumstances?
Well, I think that, like, one thing was that I was, it's hard, but I was never, for whatever reason, I was always really open about these struggles. Like, I asked for help, and I didn't always get it, but that's how I eventually got it. And so I wound up, after some resistance on my dad's part, like, finally, like, I got into therapy at a young age, and that was really, really useful. I really looked for communities of, like, other outsiders, other kids who were finding themselves, and I wound up kind of finding that in, like, there were no queer people where I grew up. It was in, like, rural Connecticut, but I wound up kind of finding that in the punk scene, like, a lot of kids who were sort of making their own life and their own future were just, like, going to these punk shows, and it wasn't like I got into that music because that scene was a place where, like, everyone was weird, and so I felt like accepted in that regard. Yeah.
LGBT suicide, teenage suicide, is something that really affects our community. About 40% of the youth who identify as LGBT end up, attempting or actually committing suicide.
Yeah.
Last Thursday, there was a young trans woman who jumped off the George Washington Bridge. What are words of encouragement that you would tell an LGBT youth who's contemplating suicide or is at the point of giving up?
Well, I'd say that I was there too, and I had all those thoughts, and I came very close quite a few times, and I did come out on the other side and now live this life that is amazing. Like, I really just get to be exactly who I want to be, and I never would have gotten to that if I hadn't just kind of held on through those difficult years. And again, it's really, really important to share what's going on and to let people know if you're struggling and to not feel like it's embarrassing or shameful and you have to hide it. And it's important to both ask for help and know that those moments pass. It's really hard to know in those times that they ever will end, but they always end.
Perfect. So are you watching the seasons?
I have been, yeah.
Do you know who you want to win? Or is that like, what's...
I don't know. I mean, there's like a lot of great competitors, but I have to say that I really, like, I'm crazy about Ginger Minge. I love Katya. I love Trixie. I mean, they're all like great girls in different regards.
Talented, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Well, thank you so much for rocking out with us and sharing from your heart.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys. Are you going to do the show anywhere else, or have you finished in New York City?
At some point, I'll be doing Cosmos in Seattle. At some point, I think I'll be doing it in San Francisco, and then back in New York in October. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, guys, thank you so much for rocking out. Bye-bye.